Hi everyone, welcome back to the 496 Kitchen and thanks for all your feedback. I will try and smile more and I will try and use the knives more at some point. So anyway, let's get on with it. It's normally a good time of year to think about change at the start of the year. But as we've been through the past couple of years, we've seen that lots of things are happening in the marketplace, lots of things are happening all over the place that actually are forcing change upon us. And how we deal with that change, whether it's actually implemented and initiated by us or whether we're reacting to it, it's really key. Now, what I want to share with you today are some thoughts in terms of how we actually do that. Some of the key things that have to be in place to make sure that that change process goes smoothly. Now, the first one of those is to make sure that everybody knows what the successful outcome of any change look like. What do we want things to be like when we've committed to the change? What do we want people to feel? What do we want our customers to feel when we've gone through the changes? Now, all of those things need to be in place and all of those things need to be explained fully to everybody so that in the first place they know where they're going, and secondly it's more important to know what their specific role is within that change process. So we know where we want to go, we know where we are. What people need to know is what they need to do to get us from one place to the new place. Now, it's very easy in any change process, particularly if you're at the heart of it, to get wrapped up in the fact that you know why it needs to happen. But think about everybody else in the organisation. They may not have the same access to as much information as you do. So it's really critical that not only explain what needs to happen and what changes need to take place, but really make sure you bring people on board by explaining why those changes need to take place. And also what the consequences are if we don't make those changes. Now, change for some people is a welcome thing, and change for some others is not so welcome, so you'll find some resistance. But the key thing is to involve everybody, to make sure that people know not just, as we've said, where they need to go, but what they need to do and how they need to help you to bring those changes to life. It's also important to recognise that the change process will have a different impact across the business, and what we need to do is to make sure that the moment we actually say we're going to change things, we can't ever then say it's business as normal. How often do you hear that, where things get changed, people change roles, people change businesses, people leave, people come in, and actually you get that dreaded statement, don't worry, it's business as normal. Well, how can it be? Things have to change. So let's get that out in the open straight away to say that actually these changes are going to happen. There is a good reason for these changes. We're doing everything we can to make sure that the impact on you is a positive impact and certainly not a negative one. And the more we share that information with people, the more actually we've got a chance of really getting to where we want to be in the shortest possible time. And that's really critical to most businesses, to make sure that once you've announced what change you want to make, is people will be expecting for those changes to happen as quickly as possible. There's certainly no point in dragging it out. One thing to remember within any change process is that change affects every individual in a different way. We often consider what will happen from a business point of view, and we then really start to drill down in terms of what might happen from a team perspective. But what about the individuals in the business? Everybody will handle change in a totally different way. Some people love it. Some people just want things to change every day. We've all got some of those within the businesses, I'm sure. But for some people, they're quite happy doing what they want to do, doing the things they've always done in the way they've always done them. You need to make sure that they are embraced within this process, and you bring them along and make sure that they start to feel that the changes they're making are making a real difference to the overall process. And if you can, it's really, really important that you recognise successes as you go and celebrate those successes, because every small step on that journey, it could be, to some people, a massive step. So recognise what the changes mean to each individual as well as the overall business. You know, when I first started within the business, one thing that my first boss said to me was the only constant thing I would ever face was change. And at the time you think, well, that can't be right. But here we are, X amount of years later, and actually the change is coming even quicker. Our ability, or your ability, and the ability of those around you to react to those changes will make the difference. So think about what change means to the business, think about what change means to the individuals. and make sure everybody knows what their responsibilities are within that change. Make sure that people know what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and who to go to when they're finding difficulties within that. You can't have a business as normal situation. Things must change to affect change. So have some fun doing it. Don't fear it. It's going to keep happening. It's going to come even faster as we go through the next couple of years. So have some fun doing it, and I'll see you next time.